Welcome back. Have you ever been on such a crazy roller coaster ride in your entire life? I don't know if that is life in the 21st century or if truly this has been the craziest Broncos season of all time. I have gone from thinking that we need to trade the farm and we'll be lucky to get Caleb Williams to now, as you've seen on this channel, I think we're making a playoff push. And that has not just been my take, that is the take of the national media. So in this video, we break down what has been the secret to the Broncos' defensive turnaround in particular, from Pat McAfee rumors to saying that Vance Joseph is on his way out and getting fired for Rex Ryan, to holding the MVP of the league, Pat Mahomes, to 1 touchdown in 2 games. And if our offense was even played a little better, I think Pat Mahomes would have had less than that. So we're going to dive into what has been the secret weapon of this Broncos defensive turnaround, and I think you're going to love it. If you want more videos like that, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel because we're breaking it down all the way through the playoffs. So let's dive in here. So as I mentioned, just a few weeks ago, I remember tuning in and hearing on the Pat McAfee show, everybody's favorite punter, that indeed the Denver Broncos were on their way to firing Vance Joseph, even mid-season. Some of the rumors were that he was so bad. Rex Ryan came out and said if he was the coach of this defensive team, that all of a sudden we would be one of the best defensives in the league. And a lot of people retweeted this. This had a ton of traction. And really for good reason, because this all happened on the wake of what was the biggest scoring game since 1966. And really, if Mike McDaniels, the Broncos' former ball boy, didn't want to kind of jinx it, he'd need the ball and turned it over on downs when he could have easily kicked a field goal to actually set the record for the most points ever in an NFL game. But he didn't want that bad juju, and so he didn't. But nevertheless, my guess is most of our audience is under the age when you watched that game in 1966. So the Broncos let up just 4 touchdowns in the air through Tua. We had multiple running backs who scored 200 yards running for this Achane guy who none of us had ever heard of. Tyreek Hill was just looked like he was on roller skates and our guys were walking in quicksand. And that was absolutely devastating. And the very next week, you think, oh, we're going to bounce back, and all of a sudden we win this game. But at one point we were down 28-7 to Justin Fields, who's clearly not a great thrower of the ball. He had a game where if you look at his stat line in this game, he had 4 touchdowns, and you're just like, what on earth is going on? And like I said, this last couple weeks, we've just been a different team, and what is happening? And I love this post here. I just thought it was absolutely hilarious just looking at the Vance Joseph redemption arc and how looking at Thanos here, and maybe I treated you and judged you too hard. So really, what is the biggest difference between the Broncos that let the Dolphins drop 70, let Justin Fields throw all over us, and the team that we're seeing now that just held Mahomes to 1 touchdown in 2 games? And this Redditor here, massive shout out to Gardix here. This was incredible. Looking at the difference between our players played in Miami versus Kansas City. So let's look at some of the biggest differences here. Obviously, massive difference in keeping Mahomes out of the end zone that entire game and letting Tua drop 70 on us. So what is it that made the big difference? So we see here, Isang Bassi was getting absolutely lit up in that Miami game. He didn't play a single snap in this Kansas City game. Same thing, Mathis was getting just torched, and he barely played on a couple of snaps in that game. So you see huge differences there. Surtain played both. So the big changes here, we're looking at Jaquan McMillan, who didn't play at all in Miami, and Fabian Moreau, who didn't play at all in Miami, who came out and just were absolute studs. And if you look here particularly, we talked a little bit about Jaquan McMillan, that he was targeted 6 times, only let 3 of those into receivers' hands, had that gorgeous interception, had multiple tackles for loss, and just played his absolute mind off. And so that was super cool to see there, the difference. Now, other huge differences here that I think is really important to note, and this is also true of the Bears game, and I think this is the actual secret of the turnaround, and that is right here Justin Simmons. So Simmons, we talk about all the time on this podcast or this show, and he is one of our favorite players, and Simmons was actually the player of the week. And really, he didn't play at all. He was on that back injury. And so I think for sure, looking there at him playing versus not playing, we are a completely different defense. And so my hope, we are very, very healthy right now. We have our bye week to get even healthier when we come back. And so my true hope is that we hit the ground running and we keep this exact same defensive energy, this exact same defensive intensity up so that when we go on the road to Buffalo, that we will win. And Broncos country, you're hearing it here again. I'm going to break down later on next week why I know that we're going to win and the signs that I see that are pointing to that. But you see, we have a different defense because other thing in that, I just stopped sharing my screen, but we let Frank Clark go. Randy Gregory played a ton in that game against the Dolphins, and obviously we paid for him to leave because he just was not a good culture guy. He was not trying. He was not buying into Vance Joseph's system. And, coincidentally or not, he has not won a game yet with the 49ers. And so that's kind of cool for us. But lots to catch up on next week. A lot of excitement in Broncos country at the bye week. We are live again. Caleb Williams. You can go wherever you want. Maybe go to Oakland and play. I now heard a rumor that Deion Sanders might be the next coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. I hope he stays with the Buffs for a couple more years. But we'll cover all that. Like this video so you don't miss anything. Thanks.